Hello everyone and welcome back to Geminic Science. In this tutorial, I'm going to be looking at something super fascinating which is known as the ATP. Notice that this is a molecule that powers life. And guess what? I'm also going to show you the step-by-step process of how to draw its structure. The ATP simply stands for the adenosine triphosphate, and this is more like a rechargeable battery of your body. What it does, it simply stores and releases energy whenever your cells need it. Notice that every simple and single activity requires the molecule of ATP. Example, I say, for us to be able to breathe, we need ATP. Walking, we need ATP. And ordinary thinking, we also need the molecule of ATP. So what do we combine to get this guy, that is the ATP? So basically, I'm talking about the recipes of the ATP. So you can put it this way. The component or combination of ATP is ARP, ARP3, ARP3. Notice that the A simply stands for the adenine, so which is a 3-nitrogenous base, adenine. And the R simply stands for ribose, which is a sugar molecule. And here we have phosphate, which is 3-phosphate group. I think if you could remember on our previous video on the plasma membrane, we made mention, we said we have something like this, which we call the phospholipid. I just want to give a very quick review on that. We said one of the combination of this phospholipid, it has a phosphate head, which is PO4 3-. So how does this phosphate work? So here we have the phosphorus. Remember, okay, let me do it in a way you will understand. We have O, and on top we have 3-, and down here we have 4. We are going to have 4 oxygen definitely. Here we have 1 with double bond, and here we have 3 with slightly electronegative charges. And remember, we said hydrogen is slightly electropositive charges. And when we have the combination of negative and positive, it simply attracts. So, if you could remember, we said the head of the plasma membrane is hydrophilic, and we said hydro means water, and philic means love. Therefore, they love water. And the tail is hydrophobic. Hydro means water, and phobic means like hate. They tend to stay away from water. So, let's go back. This is just a very quick revision on the molecule of phosphate group. So, the combination, let me go back a little bit. The combination of the ATP, we said we have the adenine, we have the ribose, which is a sugar molecule, and we say the adenine is nitrogenous base. And here we have phosphate group, which is going to be PO4, PO4, PO4. So, what if you ask, where is exactly energy released? For us to have, the fun fact of this is this, for us to have the release of energy, we actually need breakup of one of these phosphate group. So from there we are going to have the conversion of ATP into ADP. And notice that this is adenosine triphosphate, and this is going to be adenosine diphosphate. So I need you to take this as just a very quick revision. So for us to draw the complete structure of the ATP, we first of all need to draw the adenine. That's number 1. Secondly, we need to draw the ribose, and we need to show the 3-phosphate group. The reason why I canceled this is just to show the break off of one phosphate group in order to produce the energy. So I'm going to start by drawing the adenine, which is the first one. When we combine number 1, 2, and 3, it's going to give us completely the ATP. So, but before then, do you remember your primary school or secondary school mathematics? This structure is what we call the hexagon. And this structure is what we call, I think this should be the pentagon. So to begin the drawing of the adenine base, first thing which we need to do is to start with hexagon. And if you could remember, that is what we call cyclohexane, which is the same thing as this. Okay, let me just draw it. This is going to be the methane, ethane, propane, butane, pentane, hexane. We call this cyclohexane. Forget about this. So let's go back. We said to begin the adenine base, first thing which we need to do is to start with hexagon. After drawing the hexagon, we can then add the alternating double bond inside the ring. So let's start from the right hand side by placing our hexagon this side. Is it big? No, it's just okay. So the next thing which we need to do is to add the alternating bond which is inside. You can choose to put it this way, 1, right, 2, and here is the third one. Let's say we start counting from this position to be 1, 2, 3, and 4. Let's say 5 and 6. Because for us to have hexane, we need 6 carbon. And this is what we call the hexane. Mathematically, we call it the hexagon. So next thing which we need to do is to label position 2 and position 4 as nitrogen. So feel free to delete this and put nitrogen there. At this point, you can then feel free to add the 5-membered ring at position 5 and 6. This is our position 5 and this is our position 6. So feel free to add nitrogen at position 7 and 8. We can have our nitrogen here and our another nitrogen here. And remember, we said this is a 5-membered ring. This is going to go up, and here we're going to have, they're going to enclose and meet at this point. So we can add our double bond from the inside. So feel free to add a functional group, which is an amino group, to position 1, which is on the hexagon. So here is going to have an amino group, negative NH2. So at this point, you can now add ribose sugar by simply drawing a 5-sided ring, which is a pentagon below the adenine. So this is how it goes. Okay. Sorry, I'm trying to make it nicely. So at this point, from the 5 carbon of the ribose, you can simply draw a line connecting a cycle, and you cannot label it as phosphate. So let's see, we have a phosphate here. This is how it goes. It's just going to be, remember I showed you how the structure of the phosphate group actually previously. And here we're going to have OH. Remember we said it's ARP, which is adenine, ribose, and 3-phosphate. The 3-phosphate is going to continue. It is going to be P, OH, and here we're going to have our double bond. Same thing at this point, which is going to be P into double bond, and here is going to be our OH, and here is going to be our single. So feel free to label them as alpha, beta, and then gamma. Notice that at this point we can simply add an arrow showing energy release when this gamma phosphate break off from this chain. And when it does that, it simply releases the energy. So this is it for this problem. So what did we learn today? We said ATP, which simply stands for the adenosine triphosphate, which is the energy currency of the cell. And it is made up of adenine, ribose, and triphosphate group. You can now draw ATP and understand how it works. So this is it for this problem, and I hope you find it very helpful. Please, if you do, just simply do me a favor by hitting on that subscribe button. See you next time. Thank you. Hello everyone, and welcome back to Geminic Science.